Warning, this video contains spoilers for all the chapters covered here within. If you don't want it to be spoiled, turn back now, all that jazz. So yeah, one, if I sound a little bit like different or better, it's because I'm testing a new mic setup. It's the same basic setup, arm, microphone, me, but it's at a new angle. It's hanging as opposed to how I usually have it. So let's see how this goes. If I see any peaks in the audio, that's gonna be my telltale sign. But last time on the One Piece reviews, we covered all the way up to 1023. Or 1073, sorry. So this week we're going to be, or today I should say, we're going to be covering the rest of the chapters. So that's 1074 to, I believe, 1078, 1079. A few chapters. I didn't realize they were piling up as much as they were. And that's on me. So the cover story for this chapter is Judge, Queen, and Caesar fighting, like as when they were younger. And it's interesting to see a young Queen, possibly before he had his devil fruit. It's just nice to see all these early character designs. And beforehand, before this, the Straw Hat Alliance, I guess I'll call them, in Egghead had revealed that there was a traitor, but they didn't know who it was, and they might have had to team up with the Marines to deal with it. I don't quite remember. So, FYI, I don't think I've read any of these chapters, so this is kind of a first reaction, too. So, we're in the Fabrio Stadium on Egghead, and we get some Marines saying you're meant to be with the Marines, right? Why the hell is a government weapon getting in our way? And we see that Kuma, not actually Kuma, the fake Kumas, the PX3s, are fighting the Marines. And it shows that the new pacifistas, or the Mark III pacifistas, have bubble shields, similar to Kuma's repel and the bubble that would create, just it is able to make a physical bubble that blocks attacks. And these are the 3.0 versions of the 1.0s that were shown at Marineford. And the Marines are asking who's controlling him, and the Pacifista is initiating its capture protocol. And we see that Sentomaru is the one that is at least getting a hold of the Marines. And, or maybe not getting a hold of the Marines. He's talking to his group, I should say. Sorry. And he says, the Frontier Dome's sealed, and I can't get a hold of Grandpa Punk. And then we get a flash of Luffy, back when they had their little interaction, saying, you got it, I'll get him off the island no matter what. And Sentomaru can't even get a signal because the Navy is jamming communications with all the static, and officially dubs himself a rebel. And that is when he deploys all 50 of the Mark III units, which is really interesting. And Sentomaru sets them with the rule, Straw Hat Luffy will be taking Dr. Vegapunk with him on his ship. Your mission is to see it that it sets safely. The Navy might have something up their sleeve. Stand guard at the coast. And we see that these pacifistas are just marching through the city. Everyone's kind of wondering what happens. And Sentomaru tells them no matter what happens, you must ensure your creator escapes. And this, it might just be my new, or my fascination with Attack on Titan that I've been going through for like the past few days, but this feels very like warlike. This is a commander ordering his soldiers to sacrifice themselves to achieve the greater good. And I think that's just really interesting because that's not something One Piece usually does. It did in Wano, it's done in Marineford, and it's done a few times, but like this is a grim outlook. Sentomaru is injured, maybe not dead, but like he's severely injured, and he's still doing this. We cut to the Labo Stratum on Egghead, so where everyone is, and they're looking for he, as in, what do you mean he's not here? He's got to be in the lab somewhere. I ran all over the place looking. Luffy broke his hover boots, so we had to run everywhere instead. Don't snitch, I can't pay them back. Chopper and Luffy's back and forth. And then we find out that they're talking about Vegapunk. Actual, like, core Vegapunk. And they can't find Bonnie either. But, the Ashaka, I believe his name is. The guy with the helmet. He says that he knows where Bonnie is, and everything in the lab is transmitted to his monitor, and tells them she never went anywhere. And this is when we see Brooke, Zoro, and Stussy in their Egghead drip. And I have to say, everyone on Twitter was praising Zoro's fit, saying it was clean and that it's like his best fit he's ever had, right? I don't really like it. Don't get me wrong, I usually don't have an issue with One Piece outfits. I don't have an issue with this. But with all the praise that this suit was getting, I just kind of wanted more. You change where his katanas are. They're on his back as opposed to his hip, which has been a constant for however many arcs he's been in. He has a jacket, which we're not really used to seeing him with. And he just has all sorts of like straps and doodads that Zoro ordinarily just doesn't have. And sure, it's a different look for him. And it's the Egghead look, but I just don't like it. Personal opinion. Flame me if you want. I don't really care. And everyone's asking, I thought we were leaving, what happened to Stella? And Shaka says, we've had a couple issues, brace yourself for this. First, Stella has disappeared. Second, we've lost control of the Frontier Dome. As things stand, we're basically trapped on the Lad Stadium. If we try to leave, the lasers would likely fry us. And Usopp and Chopper ask, how can we leave the island with Vegapunk? And Shaka replies, quite, and... Wait, what? Oh. Quite, and the dome is really a secondary concern when you consider your main passenger is missing. We should prioritize finding the Stella first. I'll figure out a way to repair the dome in the meantime. And Frankie asks, how are we meant to find him if he's not showing up on any of your monitors? And Shaka replies, well, these displays do normally show the entire lab, but that Seraphim rampage just now must have incapacitated some of the baby monitor snails, or maybe they were just knocked out of position. I'm having our workers in other satellites search for him. He might have passed out in a blind spot. And Pythagoras radios in and says the third floor of Building C seems empty. And he tries to give an order for the next place to go, but we just see Nami walking away, saying the sooner we find him, the sooner we set sail. Let's go search for treasure too. And Brooke follows along, and Sissy says that she will also go and look as she is worried. And Sanji does his normal thing of swooning after the woman. And Zoro says, guess I'll lend a hand. We're looking for a geezer with a sawed-off head, right? And Sanji hates him because he's probably going to mess it up because Zoro can't find shit. And everyone is wondering who's going to find Zoro when he finds Vegapunk. And Robin just asks him, just be a deer and wait, okay? Which, I'm going to say it. This might just be me complain, whatever. I don't like how Robin is just, this entire arc, it feels like she's been relegated to the sidelines, as most of the characters have anyway. But she's just kind of issuing orders, I should say. And I got it wrong, Zoro doesn't reply by saying okay, but just her telling him to just wait isn't... Zoro is the kind of guy that I don't expect him to actually listen to people. When they tell him not to go searching, in my mind, he wouldn't go searching. But we are looking at a Zoro who has been with this crew for, 3 years nearly? Or over 3 years? He trusts them all implicitly, even Sanji, who him and Sanji hate each other. That's not the point. But I just don't like this attitude Robin has developed this arc. And him and Luffy are sitting down saying that they're just forming a search party, so they'll be fine. And asks Luffy that he's been running around, right? And Luffy says, I always go all out for everything, which is so Luffy. And Zoro says that he can't believe that they bumped into these guys again, talking about, our boy, not Vegapunk, Jesus Christ, Lucci and Kaku. And Luffy says, takes me back to Water 7. I wonder how Ice Boss is doing. And we cut to the lab interior, the paw room, the room that we saw Bonnie and Vegapunk in formerly. And we cut to, we remember that Vegapunk told Bonnie not to touch it because it was just going to be pure pain. But we see that she did indeed touch it, and all she remembers is, or the first thing she sees is a young Kuma, mind you, he was big as a kid, in pain. And a bunch of people running up to him say, we've got you, bastard, get your ass back here. If you escape, they'll kill the rest of us. But he doesn't want to go. And he says, I don't ever want to go there again. And he seems to just be being chased. And he says, if I go back, I'll die anyway. And they start beating him. And we find out that with the silhouettes that we see on the next page, they look like world nobles. Which makes me think that not Vegapunk. Kuma might have been a slave for the world nobles before he became a pirate. And maybe he escaped, became a pirate, and then joined the revolutionaries because of that. That would be a really good motive. And then we see Bonnie pleading with the memory to stop, and then she flies out. And then we cut to actual Kuma trying to climb the red line again. And he is trying. And we see that Bartholomew Kuma is still going. Shoot him down is the order that the Marines on the red line are ordering. And then we cut to Bonnie again, saying, I couldn't take it all in. My resolve wasn't strong enough. But if I stay ignorant, I'll never be able to understand. Right, Dad? And then we cut to a wide shot of the Egghead. And then we see punk number 4, I forget who that is, saying they really totaled the place even though they were born here. Stella, where did you get to? And then an explosion goes off. And we see that the World Economic News is here! And Morgan says, get a load of this. An insane scoop just came in. The world government intends to assassinate the beloved Dr. Vegapunk. They plan to kill the world's greatest genius. It's like O'Hara all over again. But they've miscalculated this time. The good doctor is far too popular for this to fly. He's loved as the man that develops energy to light towns the world over. Unfortunately, guess who else happens to be on the scene? This guy, referring to Luffy. So let's make the headline. Navy engagement at Egghead. Emperor Straw Hat Luffy takes Vegapunk hostage. I'm sure the government will appreciate that spin. Go collect their contribution. Ordering around the under-reporters. And then we see that Vivi is there. Along with Wapol. Remember that whole thing way back when Cobra died and Vivi was missing because of Sabo? Yeah, well, this is legitimately like a fairly large revelation here that she's here. She's with the news. Not like actively, but and she says Luffy-san would never do something like that. The Economic Journal is such a rag. And Wapol replies, keep your voice down. What if there's a wiretap snail around here? The government will erase us. Besides, Morgan-chan took us in. Don't be rude. And then we get one last panel of Morgan's saying, big talk for a girl who was bawling her eyes out yesterday. Don't look down on me or tell me how to do my job. My words can shake the world. Besides, news isn't about fact or fiction. It's about entertainment. Hope you guys enjoyed that free voice acting. So this chapter sets in motion the fact that Vivi is currently in the possession of Morgan. Morgan is trying to spin everything that's happening as a Luffy takes Egghead or Vegapunk hostage just to try to gain some Marine sympathy. And I think there's also an underlying sense of if the Marines know what's good for them, they won't say anything. They're not going to go out of their way to like throw Morgan's and be like, nope, you can't say that. Because they know he has worse headlines that he could put out. Morgan's has been established as a bit of an ass. So, going into 1075. Woo! We see Vegapunk surrounded by the elders. With the text, granted an audience with the 5 elders due to his scientific genius. And at this point, his head is massive, but it's still almost in the panel. So, that's something. And we cut to the radio saying, come on, Pythagoras, do you read me? I heard a loud boom. What was this? Pythagoras, please respond. Has there been an accident? You weren't caught up in it, were you? Snail 12, Building C, check the surrounding area. And notices that yet another explosion goes off. But before the explosion goes off, he sees some sort of shadow. Shaka, of course. And the camera is out. The snail's been hit. And Luffy stands up with Zoro asking what's up, and Luffy says, "Hey, helmet guy, is something wrong with this thing? Everyone's voice is cut off suddenly." Which, you have to think, right? Luffy has the voice of all things. He has advanced observation haki. He can pretty much detect anyone in an island if he really wants to. But he is relying on like this little earpiece thing that is in all of their suits. So with him wondering that show, not like an over-reliance, I shouldn't say, but it shows that he's, for lack of a better term, trusting Vegapunk's tech. Like, believing in it. And then we cut to floor 3 of building 3. Wait, no. 3rd floor, building A. Okay, yeah, so building A. Sorry. And we see that Robin and Brook are looking around for Vegapunk still. And Nami does her normal thing of precious gems, gimme, gimme, gimme. And one of the Vegapunks, the little guy, says, "Ain't you being a bit forward? Most just say they're pretty." And Brook says, "There's no harm in it, right? Everyone's evacuating after all." And Vegapunk says, "You're not wrong there, but I still reckon you folks have got screwed loose." Because I forgot he's supposed to have like a Western drawl. And Nami puts all the jewels in a bag and says, "This is heavy. Shall we head back?" Showing that she really didn't care about saving Vegapunk, and she just wanted to steal things. Which brings me to another point. With a lot of the One Piece, or the main cast, being the Straw Hats, I feel like a lot of them can get stuck in their one gimmick. And Nami is one of the worst, like, versions of this. She is the worst example. Is that she is just always a thief. The best we have seen her since, like, Arlong arc is, like, fucking Wano. And that wasn't really that good. She was still relegated to running around just fighting Ulti, who was built to be a threat, yeah, but there was a gag with the headbutts. And she had that big character moment of saying Luffy will become the Pirate King when her death was very imminent, yes. And that was a good character moment. But I hate to see her coming back to the cat burglar angle, which, don't get me wrong, that's been her character for the entire series. She started off the cat burglar. I don't expect her to just turn around to not be. But the fact that it's still such a one-note thing. She isn't putting herself above being a cat burglar to save them from Egghead. They are in real danger here. They need to find Vegapunk and leave, but she just doesn't care. She's too preoccupied with the gems. And I feel like this can also be relegated to Sanji, but Sanji has some good characterization moments in pretty much every arc so far, with him refusing the power of the suit, him hating the fact that his body is developing like Germa wanted it to. You have Sanji with the Save Me Robin scene. That was also Robin's last good moment, was the Save Me Robin scene. You have, obviously, Luffy gets characterization like every arc. He's the main character. You expect him to. But not a lot of the cast has gotten that. Brook is still pretty much relegated to being the gag character for Panties. And he'll occasionally get a flashback to his 50 years on the boat, but that's about it. Usopp is a gag character at this point. Chopper's a gag character who is just the doctor at this point. The crew just feels so gimmicky. And I don't know why I'm complaining about this. It's One Piece. It's a shonen. Everyone's supposed to have a gimmick. But this scene with Nami has just put it in perspective how much I dislike it. I hate the gimmick. I don't mind it. Like, usually. Like, I'm not going to complain about Sanji's gimmick about being a fucking insane man when it comes to women. I don't really care about that. Because it's a gag. It's a goof. It's for a funny. But it's paired with him being an actual character. He has depth. When you look at this scene with Nami, all you get is, haha, she's a thief. She doesn't care. Ha ha ha. And when you pair that with the fact that, like, back on Fishman Island, she didn't get a lot of, like, not redemption, I shouldn't say, but she didn't get a moment where she, like, a big awooga moment with forgiving Arlong, or maybe not forgiving him, but she had that scene with Jinbei, and that was it. For an entire arc that could have been her arc. I think that most of these arcs post-time skip could have been dedicated to being someone's arc. You start the characters that don't really need an arc, like Nami. You give her Fishman Island to be her arc. And then you give Sanji Whole Cake Island, obviously. You can still give him his moments in Wano. Wano should have been Zoro's arc, unless we're getting a Zoro arc later. Usopp, if we go to Elbaf with the crew, that's Usopp's arc. But that's it. This arc, Egghead, should be Chopper and Frankie's. They're both in this. They both have relevant, skill sets. So I just feel like it's kind of wasted. But whatever, this is a tangent that I don't need to go on, because it's One Piece, it's goofy, it's forgivies. But she leaves the jewels, obviously she does, because plot. And, the little Vegapunk says, those diamonds are handmade, they're meant for industrial purposes only. And, again, she gets the berry eyes, saying that they can make diamonds, this is really a place of your dreams. I'm not gonna say anything else. But that scene is it. That scene is my issue with Nami, in a nutshell. We cut to the second floor of Building A, and Chopper's wondering about Vegapunk 5's mask, or face, and she says, yep, I can replace any part of my body whenever I need. That's the future for you. And Robin is wonders if these Vegapunks are organoids, man-made organoids, is what the Vegapunk says. They'll be indispensable for the doctors of the future. And Chopper starts bawling. You can actually grow new organs? That's amazing! And Robin, of course, being the demented woman that she is, says, oh, I thought these were Vegapunk's organs and someone cut them out. And then we cut to Shaka with Luffy in the command room of the 4th floor of Building A, where Luffy's asking what's going on, but Shaka is far too preoccupied trying to get a hold of Edison. And Luffy says, I could hear everyone fine a second ago. I swear I didn't break it or knock it or anything, I think. And Shaka says, it's not that, look at this. And the camera turns off. And he says the camera feeds keep going out one after another. There's someone else in the lab. And we go to 2nd floor Building B, right side, where, I went on that whole tangent about Nami, so I feel like it's only fair. Sanji has sacrificed a lot of his characterization since Whole Cake to just fall back on the womanizer angle. Or maybe not womanizer, but the simp angle. And I feel like that's wasted. That's all I'll say. It's wasted characterization. He still got the moment, but it feels empty and hollow. And again, it's a goof, it's a gaff, whatever. Maybe it's the fact that I'm coming back to One Piece for the first time in 2 months, so I've had some time to decompress about it. But yeah, the goofs and the gaffs and the gimmicks are getting a wee bit character ruining for me. Not in Sanji's case, and not really in Nami's case, because I know she'll have her moments. She will be a character when she needs to be. It just feels weird when you have so many characters with such depth. Like Luffy, last arc, he went through a lot. And I've seen what Sanji has gone through. I know his characterization, but it just feels weird. And Sanji says, I can't believe I get to travel the seas with you, Lady Stussy. You were at Big Mom's party, right? You can consider me your loyal dogs. And Stussy says, just keep your eyes out for Stella, silly. So, she's playing into it. I like this dynamic. We have someone who's actually not afraid to, order Sanji around using his simp angle. I like it. Because Nami and Robin really just exploit him. Or Nami does. Robin doesn't really. Robin's, impartial to it. And Jinbei says, this part of the lab sure is huge. And Stussy replies, that's because we're on the weapons development floor. You wouldn't want any shockwave setting things off down here. And then you cut to the 3rd floor, Building C, left side, where, one of the Vegapunks is holding a bubble gun. Lilith, I believe this one is. So this group is Usopp, Lilith, 06, and Frankie. And she has a bubble gun. And Usopp asks what it is. And she says, it makes the strongest bubbles. They can bounce anything back. And, of course, Vegapunk 6 is sleepy, because that's kind of her whole thing. And Frankie just keeps calling out and just is trying to get Vegapunk's attention. And 06 sees that something has happened with an explosion. And Usopp says, there's someone here. And he sees Pythagoras lying there, looking pretty fucked up. And he says that Pythagoras doesn't have a head. And Frankie says, that's gory. Don't tell me it was blown off. That big boom we heard earlier was because of this. And we have a little Russell off camera, and Usopp aims his slingshot, but it's Pythagoras' head, so he's clearly meant to kind of be able to disassemble. And Usopp asks what happened. Was it some sort of accident? No, this looks like an attack. And he says, "It was the darndest thing. It sounds impossible, but I know my eyes weren't playing tricks on me. I'm forced to wonder if we made a grave miscalculation. Where's York?" And we cut to York, and she is with the Hancock Seraphim. And she said, "Didn't Edison order you to hold your horses earlier? You should really still be waiting out there, even though you're so cute." And York gets petrified by the love beam. And she falls over, and this is making me wonder, is the Seraphim's ability a stronger version of Hancock's? Because with Hancock, it was someone that had to show, like, express, like, love, I guess, or affection or desire. This is just, like, adoration. And yet, still, it works. That's it. That's my question. And Lilith is wondering why the Seraphim is here. And she says, "You shouldn't be able to move on your own. I command you to stop." And then Snake launches one of the hand beam attacks. And Pythagoras' head, I believe, says, "Something's off here. Don't they realize we're Vegapunk? I know, they're not accepting our orders." And they all land. And Frankie says, "Didn't see this twist coming. Should I return fire?" Obviously, he is the most well-armed out of all of them. And he sees... And then they get a response from Shaka, and they can't get a hold of him. So Lilith tells the Seraphim, "Quit joking around. We won't stand a chance in a fight. We designed them to be the most powerful beings around." Which is like, there has to be like some kind of kill switch, right? No, Vegapunk probably didn't build a kill switch. He just didn't care enough, I guess. And then we see that Zoro has his swords drawn. And we see that S. Bear and S. Hawk are here. And Shaka asks who ordered them to move. And Zoro says that they were gunning for CP0. And you see Lucci and Kaku knocked out behind him. And Zoro says, "Letting them die in cuffs would leave a bad taste in my mouth." Obviously, he's a prideful swordsman. He's not going to let his enemy die at the hands of a robot while they're handcuffed and knocked out. And a big explosion and a big swipe happens. And it's obviously the Seraphims attacking. And Shaka says, "If they won't take my orders, then they must already be acting on the command issued by a Vegapunk. Between the communications blacked out and the barrier sealing us in, this is beginning to seem like an elaborate plan. Somebody's trying to kill us all." And then we see the CP0s waking up, and Lucci says they want us dead. And Kaku asks and says, "Those no good Seraphim scamps." And he continues to say, "Hey, Straw Hat, Roronoa, how about we let bygones be bygones for now?" And Lucci gives the option, "We could form a temporary alliance. The two of us would be much more useful out of these cuffs." And Zoro and Luffy hit the disgust phase, and I fucking love it. So we have the basis for a team-up between Luffy, Zoro, Kaku, and Lucci. And this is going to be really interesting to see how it plays out, because these guys have history, going all the way back to Water 7. And I'm wondering if there's going to be some, like, I'm trying to think of how to word it. Like, they don't actually want to help each other, so they're like holding back a bit. But then they realize, no, we have to, like, let loose, or else we're gonna die. So if that is what happens in this arc, it'd be really, really interesting to see. And also, going into 1076, we get a color page, which I believe is the first time we've seen Vegapunk colored. And the apple on his head is just an apple. I thought it was going to be like a golden apple or a green apple or some weird color. No, it's just a red apple with a brown stem and a green leaf. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that teamwork goes. If Lucci, Kaku, Luffy and Zoro can actually get over what they've had to go through against each other. Hell, Luffy and Lucci just had a fight earlier this arc where Luffy absolutely fucking bodied him. So it'll be interesting to see if Lucci can even trust it. Which, I mean, they're not really in a position where they can't trust, which is it's an interesting angle to see explored with One Piece. Because usually with One Piece, we have a fairly secure bond of trust with the characters. Like, we trusted Vivi back in Alabasta, for good reason. We trusted the Samurai on Wano, for good and for bad, because of what happened with Kanjuro. But this is a alliance that even Luffy and Zoro, Luffy being the most let loose kind of guy imaginable, he doesn't want to do it. Obviously, they've fought CP0 agents, or these two at least, twice, 3 times in the past, Water 7, Ennis Lobby, and on Egghead earlier. So it's interesting to see how this is going to go, is all I'll say. We also see that Chopper's outfit is colorized to be a nice baby blue. And I love it so much. But I believe this color page, or this Shonen Jump cover, was to commemorate Volume 105 releasing. Which, holy shit, I feel old if 105 is already out. I've been reading One Piece weekly for a year and a half. Hell, we just passed a year since Gear 5th. Or not just, because of this video being so fucking late. But we passed a year of Gear 5th being out a few weeks ago, I believe. So, yeah, that's, it's interesting, to say the least. Okay, so jumping straight into the next chapter, we have an amazing color page. I don't know what this is for, but with the foreshortening, the creative separation of the characters using their body shapes and everything, I love this color page. More than I probably have a right to. But we have Zoro asking if they free CP0. He can't see them see CP0 letting them put the cuffs on them later. And Kaku says, nope, that's not true. When we're out of danger, we'll put these restraints back on without a fight. And Luffy just agrees. He says, really? In that case, sure. But Zoro lets him know they are obviously lying. And Mihawk, or Seraphim S. Hawk, goes in for a slice, and it causes a big ol' cut. But the way that the S-Hawk is standing, it attacked with its leg. It has a sword for its leg. And Zoro recognizes it as the Dice Fruits power that Mr. Zero had. And then we are reminded of the green blood. There has to be some devil fruit in that blood to make the ability work. And Kaku says, see, Roranor, you keep having to save us. You won't get anywhere like this. And Shaka asks, what was your mission here, CP0? And Lucci, being Lucci, he's not going to lie, he's going to be real, says eliminating all 7 Vegapunks. And when he's asked about them letting Stussy off the hook, he says, that's right, I won't show her any mercy. And Kaku, this entire time, is telling him, shut up, are you trying to convince them not to save us? And Zoro says, and Zoro, I can't tell what's happening. I have no idea. Did he beat? Okay, I'm gonna be real. Either a page isn't loading, or just magically, Zoro says, that was for Nami. All 4 of those things must be running wild. How are we meant to protect everyone on top of the 7 Vegapunks? And Luffy tells Shaka to give him the keys. And Shaka says, I'll leave the decision in your hands. Just please protect the Stella at all costs. And Luffy says, when those 4 guys are out of the way and you realize you can't beat me, you won't be a sore loser and go after my friends and the Vegapunks, right? And Zoro says, you idiot. These guys won't fall for a taunt like that. And Lucci does indeed fall for a taunt like that, saying, fat chance, you're the top priority on my hit list, you straw-hatted bastard. I won't go out of order, but your friends won't outlive you for long. And Zoro says he took the bait. And S-Bear uses Ursius Shock. Both the cuffs fall, and a huge explosion rocks the tower. And we have Luffy going Gear 4th. And Luffy apologizes to Bonnie. And Luffy uses a Kong gun. And Lucci uses 6 King gun on S-Bear. And Zoro and Kaku use Tempest Kick, White Thunder, and Purgatory Onigiri on S-Hawk. And these have to be two of the strongest attacks we have ever seen. Like, don't get me wrong, Gear 5th is way stronger than anything that this can put out. But Gear 5th is different. Gear 5th is completely different. But, like, you have Luffy now with Gear 5th using a Gear 4th attack, and Lucci combining. And then you have Zoro, who's probably using Imbued Conquerors, and Kaku, who has shown that he has some of the maddest armament hockey in the world. And we see that both of the Seraphims felt the impacts and fly back, destroying what they hit. And then we cut to deep within the lab with our group of CP5, 7, and 8 agents. And they're complaining that they need food. They haven't had a decent meal in over 2 months. And one of them asks, I wonder if we'll ever be allowed to leave. Are we going to die here? And another one says, 2 months back when we were meant to set sail, after our inspection of Egghead, those weaponized sea beasts attacked us, and we were brought back to the island. Then all the other agents that came to look into our disappearance met the same fate too. So I figured you were the one behind it all, Dr. Vegapunk. And Vegapunk is bleeding from his head and seemingly is in the same cell as them. And he says, sorry, I'm afraid I have no idea. To think this was happening on Egghead right under my nose. How troubling. This whole affair has been baffling from the start. Word leaking to the government about our research into the polyglyph should have been impossible. And then we got to our radio transmission with the Navy has successfully deployed from branch G9. We have over 100 ships of all sizes en route, all headed for Egghead. Understood. And then we cut to a small port on a certain island in the New World. And we see that two pretty cool ships are docked outside. And somebody is begging somebody, take me with you, come on. And a seemingly pirate says, don't be dumb, there's no way I'd take a hot-headed kid like you. And the two people that are talking are, one of them is wearing a cool Viking helmet, and a few people are in the background. I'm calling it, this is Elbath. The person in shadow is going to be Shanks. He's quoting how he talked to Luffy in Chapter 1, and these are going to be the Elbathians. And the kid harumphs about it, and the bar waitress says, why don't you give up? You'll make all the other captains jealous. And the kid says, no way, I really look up to the chief. And somebody, it's Rockstar, says, boss, that bastard's actually attacking us. So far they've just been scrapping with our youngsters, but what do you want to do? Seems like it'll turn into a full-on battle soon. And Shanks says, I don't know whether you'd call this good or bad timing. We were just about to set off. Guess I lost track of time catching up with everybody. Can't be helped when you suddenly come across an old friend you thought were dead. And we have one of my favorite shots of Shanks. He looks like a legit character now, instead of just a legend. He's getting a full-on establishing shot of his full body. And we get some shots of Beckman and the rest of the higher-up saying, the enemy's gonna be pissed at you for keeping him waiting. You can't talk, Beck. Do you really think he's the only one they're mad at? And Shanks says, let's set sail. And the Viking kid says, so we're really doing this? Or, not that. Sorry. One of the commanders says, so we're really doing this. I think this is Yasop. And then the Viking kid says, you're going out there to fight, Shanks? And the bar waitress said, I'd never let this island become a war zone. Oh, he's so dreamy. I think I'd never let this island become a war zone. Well, somebody else, but whatever. And two massive figures appear behind them saying, I don't want to cause any Sorry. I'm misreading everything. Shanks says, I don't want to cause any major trouble here. Hey, Dory, Broggy, can you lend me a hand? And we see, this was Elbath. These are all giants backing Shanks. And we have the new the red-headed Shanks Alliance going out to fight. And Shanks asks Rockstar to do something for him. And Rockstar asks, do you have a message for Captain Kidd, who's attacking them, obviously. And he says he has a choice. He can either hand over his load poneglyph rubbings and scram, or he can risk fighting me. And this island was actually Elbath, the home of the most prideful warriors around. And then we cut to Warland, Elbath, New World, where all the combat's happening. And a ship, it's a kid ship, I recognize the skull on the front, says those ships on the horizon are all his, including the ones lagging behind. They're allies of the red-haired pirates. Every one of them seems like a big shot, and they're all sworn to the Emperor. Last time I was completely one-sided. Killer. So last time it was completely one-sided. They took your arm before we even got a glimpse of Red Hair himself. And somebody, I'm going to assume it's Killer with the same conversation, saying they won't settle for an arm this time. And we see that everyone is worshipping Shanks as he walks towards his ship. Everyone calling him Chief, saying that they're glad to see him, and they feel like we totally owe you protection money. And Shanks says we don't do that. And then we get the second part of that text from whoever said this. They won't settle for an arm this time. They'll take your life instead. And Kid retorts by saying, only if I lose. What a big, bald thing for him to say, man. Holy shit. So we have Shanks about to fight. And it is about to happen, dude. Okay. I'll be 100%. Before I read 1077. I like Kid. I like his demeanor. I like his ability. It's really cool. Everything about him is neat. His attitude, like I said, his fruit, his everything is cool. But, like, Shanks is way too strong. This is an Emperor versus someone. So the tier list I'd say right now is Shanks is movable within, like, the top 4 people here. So, to me, it goes Luffy, Blackbeard, where I'd usually put Shanks right here, just in case. Law, Kid. Law and Kid are together because obviously they are pretty much on par with each other. I'd say Law is a significant jump ahead of Strength. I would be willing to say the order actually goes Luffy, Shanks, Law, Blackbeard, Kid in some days, but that's just the basis thing. Those are my top 5 strongest pirates of wise. I'm not counting Garp or Lucci or anyone like that. So there's a pretty decent gap between Kid and Shanks, and I get the Kid praise and the Kid hype because he's a cool character, like I said. And if he could actually win this fight, he'd be even cooler. But I'm going to place a very large wager before I read 1077 that by the end of this catch-up session, Kid is going to be smoked. Like, gone, dunzo, maybe not dead, but, like, fucked. He's going to be significantly fucked up. I also just moved the mic for the first time in this video. And cover page. And we see that Caesar and Judge have come to an agreement. It was all Vegapunk's fault, what happened way back when. And we cut to the Fabrio Stratum on Egghead, and Sentomaru says, you guys have to get off of this island, talking to the civilians. And they ask him, what's going on? Why did you deploy the Pacifista? And he sits down, or he has been sitting down because he's injured, and says, there was once an island called Ohara. One day, out of nowhere, it was wiped off the map. And obviously referring to the Buster Call that happened. All because the people there opposed the world government. And then we get a nice refresher on the Ohara incident, which I think is cool, but it being such a major plot point, I don't think this was really needed. It goes as this. The Library of Ohara was hosted the largest library in the world. Scholars gathered there to conduct research on the poneglyphs despite the topic being taboo. The Navy was eventually sent in to eliminate everyone on the island, including the villagers. Nico Robin was the sole survivor of the massacre. The fact that they're targeting Grandpa Punk shows how serious they are about erasing him. They're willing to lose the world's greatest mind over this. That's why I think whatever's coming is going to be even more monumental, and this place will be ground zero. So, according to Sentomaru, this is going to be an event that's going to surpass Ohara. With Ohara, you had the destruction of the world's largest library, or the seeming destruction of it. The slaughter of its scholars, the best archaeologists in the world. And now the government has set its sights on the single greatest mind that the world has ever known. And Sentomaru is thinking, hurry, Straw Hat, what's going on up there? And we cut to the control room, 4th floor, building A. And it's cool because as the art goes on, we're getting more and more destroyed, or more and more of the little building is destroyed on the catch-up thing, like the location. And Luffy asks what's going on with these guys. And he uses Kong Organ as Lucci uses handgun with Yellow Lotus on S-Bear. S-Bear's taking the hit. Kaku uses Tempest Kick, Onslaught, and Zoro uses Itoryu. Ai Shishi Song Song. One sword style, Lethal Lion Song on S Hawk. And they are, both of the Seraphims are seemingly not phased by it. And Luffy just straight up says, they're getting up way too easily. Do you think they're Kaido or something? Cut it out already. And referring to Luffy, getting up way too easily. Oh, wait, no. I think it is Luffy. Yeah, it's Luffy. Saying, do they think they're Kaido or something? Cut it out already. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. And Zoro says, now that you mention it, they remind me of King, that guy I fought in Wano. And Shaka asks a Lunarian on Kaido's crew. And Zoro replies, I never caught what his people were called. And Shaka says, I see. That must have been Alwer, the test subject who long ago escaped Punk Hazard with Kaido. The Seraphims owe their toughness to his Lunarian blood. Meaning, official, confirmation. The reason that all the Seraphims are darker and have flames and wings is because Lunarian DNA is in them. Confirmed. So this is pretty much Zoro fighting King again. Because, remember, King was a pretty decent swordsman with a devil fruit who put Zoro in a pretty close match. Don't get me wrong, if Zoro had been fully well-rested and healed, the fight probably wouldn't have been so one-sided. But, whatever. And Zoro points out, in that case, pay attention to the flames on their backs. Our attacks will only be effective when they go out. He was practically invincible when he was on fire. My bad. If I'd clocked it sooner, I could have saved us some stamina. And this is Zoro. I'm going to say it. I love this Zoro. In the panel where he apologizes, he is owning up to a mistake that he didn't even know he was making. He didn't know, oh, these guys are Lunarian, so we gotta attack them with their flames off. No, he didn't know that, but he's still apologizing for not knowing it. I love Zoro. And this panel is just, I don't know what it is about it, just the somber tone of his face. And it's just, I think it's the way he just says, my bad. If I'd clocked it sooner. And it's like, the stamina isn't really like it's not a very expendable thing, but I don't think the stamina they've wasted is going to be lethal. Like, Luffy isn't going gear 5th yet. They are all kind of panting, but it's going to be fine. And Lucci says, no matter. With this intel, we can finally make some progress. And then we have Zoro saying, yeah, there wasn't much about King to clue me in. He only had a couple unique features. White hair, brown skin, black wings, and the flames on his back. Yeah, they are all on the Seraphim, and Kaku, Luffy, and Lucci all pointed out that, yeah, he probably should have clocked it sooner. And Luffy asks Shaka where he's going, and Shaka says, I think I might know where Stella's gotten to. And S-Hawk goes for an attack, and Zoro blocks it. And Zoro says, we're in a bit of a rush. We cut to the 3rd floor of Building A, with Nami using Zeus against S-Shark. And she straight up says, we can't treat him like a kid. He's a heartless killing machine, as we see Brook's head has been knocked off of his body. And Nami continues to say, one of our friends has already been ambushed, and he basically totaled Edison. The adorable little fucking Vegapunk. He was my favorite. And Nami said, he's definitely not a kid, and he's not cute either. And Zeus says, that's right, Nami. Don't hesitate. Close your eyes if you have to. Just fling me and I'll handle the rest. And Nami uses Thunderbolt right through Seraphim Shark. And he is, like, smoke coming from his mouth. Zeus is through him. Smoke pouring from his stomach. And Nami apologizes to Jinbei. And he disappears in a splash. And Brook puts his head back on and says, he dove down again. Nami-san, run. He's coming from below. And Nami's confused, but Zeus is more confused as the attack didn't work. And right then, S-Shark pops out behind Nami, and my boy Brock uses an attack. And he says, if I rule the country, my decrees would be simple. Decree 1, anyone who threatens Nami-san will face capital punishment. Decree 9, anyone who makes her scream will receive a reflect strike. It was Sanji. It was Sanji. The number, and translator note, the numbers used might be a pun, as 1 and 9 can be combined in the form of ku, which can imply fishing, seafood in some contexts. And Sanji's attack head fucks the Seraphim up. Like, it's gone back in massive explosion. And Sanji asks if Nami's okay and says that you won't get another warning, small fry. And then he continues to say, I don't give a damn if you're a kid or if you're another Jinbei. I'll be your judge, jury, and executioner, Jim Brat. Holy shit. Like, I know we kind of agreed that Sanji's character wasn't completely changed from before Wano, but like, this seems very Germa-esque, in my opinion. Just saying. 3rd floor, building C. And Lilith asks, how dare you petrify York, referring to Snake. And Lilith uses the bubble gun, which I should ask before I see it in action. I'm thinking that this is gonna work very similarly to the bubble shields that the Seraphim have, just personally. And I'm just gonna start referring to them by their like human names. So Hancock dodges the bubble gun attack, and Usopp says, "Whoa, she brushed it off like it was nothing." And then Hancock goes down. And she looks very confused, but Lilith says, green blood gives you the pros and cons of having a fruit ability. And these bubbles were designed to harness the ocean's energy. They're your weak point. So even if she almost fully dodged the bubble, almost isn't good enough. And Frankie says, I'll catch her while she's down. And S-Snake, even though I said I was going to call her Hancock, whatever. S-Snake kicks Frankie in the jaw, and Frankie says, gets already worn off. And Lilith straight up says, that's because it only grazed her. And Hancock is doing a little puffy face thing and launches a massive attack at the group. And Frankie is behind her, seemingly, and whacks her upside the head with a bubble. And she passes out. And Usopp calls him a genius, and Lilith says, you used that bubble perfectly. And Frankie tells her to give up, and the Seraphim says this is agonizing, and he hesitates, and he takes the bubble off, and she uses perfume femur. And Frankie is half petrified, which I think is the first time we've ever seen a partial petrification. And Usopp is saying, Frankie's turning to stone, he's gonna die! Lilith uses the bubble gun, and both Lilith and Usopp get petrified. So this is all going swimmingly. And then we cut to the underground Old Devil Fruit Research Lab. And Shaka is down there, and somebody is asking, who's there? Are you the one behind all this? Come out and show yourself. And Shaka replies, it can't be. You're those Cypher Pole agents. I thought you'd come and gone ages ago. Why are you here? And they tell him, save us. I don't want to die. And Vegapunk is calling out to Shaka, and seemingly, Shaka is murdered in the next page. Shot through the skull like a bitch. Who dies to a gunshot in One Piece? Nobody! But so whoever is the traitor had come down with Shaka, because based off the text from Vegapunk, who's that you brought with you? Meaning that the traitor was probably right behind him. So this chapter was pretty good. It helps flush things out that are happening on Egghead. Obviously, it gives us some more insight on all the battles, and I'm going to say it. I do like most of these battles. I have an issue with the S-Snake one, just due to the fact that the ability of the Love Fruit seems a little bit different than it is with Hancock, unless it is just love, and the type of love these guys are feeling is more like parental affection. But point being, all these fights are amazing. I love the use of for like the first time in how long we're seeing the use of sea-based weaponry against the Devil Fruit user with the bubble gun. You have Frankie actually thinking tactically by grabbing the bubble, which is one of the things I love about Frankie. He isn't just a dumb musclehead. I mean, he is, don't get me wrong, but he is a shipwright. He is smart. He has shown in combat that he can actually, like, outwit some people. And he has the determination to do pretty much whatever is necessary. So, I love these fights. I think my favorite one has to obviously be Lucci, Luffy, Zoro, and Kaku against S-Hawk and S-Bear, but I feel like that's kind of unfair because that's the main fight. And then we get another cover story. We are on to chapter 1078 with Germa 66's Cold-Blooded Void, volume 33. And Neo Mads is formed, which is Caesar and Judge officially joining forces. This is another one of the cover stories where I feel like this is going to have to get adapted, right? Like, if this has any consequence for the world, the anime is going to have to adapt it. That's what I'm looking forward to after they adapt, when they get close to adapting the Blackbeard and Pudding stuff, because that was hinted at during the Germa 66 cover story too. Well, it wasn't really hinted at, it was shown. So, they're going to have to adapt Germa 66 at some point. It would be a good filler, like, arc, maybe 3 episodes, 2 if you're really feeling it, because it's only a few pages. You can fill in all the action that happens between them. And I feel like the cover stories just are good, like, pseudo-filler. Because they're not really filler, they are Oda official. But, like, the Ace Milk one would have been a really funny, like, filler episode. But whatever, what do I know? We cut to, at the beginning of the chapter, Lab Interior, Egghead, the Island of the Future. Uncle Kizaru is coming, says Sentomaru. And Stussy says that's right. CP0 was meant to wait for his arrival after eliminating the doctor. And Sentomaru is asking the government's pulling out all the stops, right? And Stussy says, indeed, I think they consider this to be an incident far more severe than Ohara. For one, the doctor not only continued the scholar's forbidden research, he's taken it much further. Secondly, unlike Ohara, Egghead actually has formidable combative and defensive capabilities. When you put it like that, it's no surprise they're coming loaded for bear. They're coming loaded for bear. I don't know what the fuck that means, but whatever. And Sentomaru tells Stussy to call if there are any more developments, which I'm looking forward to this whole Marines coming, because this is going to be the first time we've seen a Buster call. Like, we've seen it on, during Ennis Lobby. We've seen it in the flashback for Ohara. But this is going to be the first time in an arc we see it happen. And all the transponders in the Labostratum are down. We get it confirmed. And Sentomaru says, you heard the lady, referring to Stussy. The Navy's going to try to repeat history here, so learn from it. You can't afford to hesitate. Prepare the ships. We need to get off the island. Quickly, before the Marines show up. Listen to Sentomaru, says one of the civilians. 3rd floor, Lab Building C. Usopp, Lilith are petrified. Frankie's half petrified. Frankie calls S-Snake a damn brat. Even if my right side's frozen solid, my left can still pack a punch. If you repent, I'll let you off easy. And then Pythagoras' head, like, is clattering. And Hancock turns to it and crushes the head. And Frankie loses it. Like, he's screaming. And Frankie tells her to wait, and then we cut. 2nd floor, Building A. All those screams and explosions. I hope everyone's alright. I tried checking. It seems the Seraphim are running amok. You're mistaken. That doesn't make any sense, is the back and forth between Atlas and Robin. One thing's for sure, says Robin. When Nami screams, a certain someone will always dash to her aid in an instant. We should focus. I bet everyone's pinned down. Since they're all fighting, what if something happens to Vegapunk's main body while they're distracted? Chopper says this is a good point. And Atlas replies, that reminds me, there's a room that's sealed off. There's a room that's been sealed off for a while now. I wrote it off since this place isn't very useful, but maybe we should check. Lead the way, Atlas. Then we cut to 3rd floor, building A. Nami's holding Edison, and Brooke is out of his body, soul searching, as I call it. He goes out to scout for Vegapunk as Sanji is fighting the S-Shark. He takes a full punch from S-Shark to the face, and he just shrugs it off and says, don't act so surprised. This is the power of love. Well, no, it's the power of Germa 66, which is technically love, if we're being real. Cut to 4th floor, building A. Back to the main fight. The flames aren't going out, and Hawkeye is gone, and he must have run off to go somewhere. And Lucci says the odds are he's reprioritized the order of his targets. He could be focusing on thinning the herd, saving the toughest for last. Eliminating your weaker friends should rattle your stronger fighters and handicap them. And Zoro says he's going to chase him down. And Luffy orders Kaku to go help him, and he calls him Usopp. And he tells him to do that because he's going to get lost. And Kaku leaves and just pursues him. And Luffy readies an attack. Hawk Gatling straight to S-Bear. And he says, I'll blast that fire away. And Lucci straight up says, use your pathetic brain, Straw Hat. Doesn't matter how many times you try hitting it, it won't work. And then we, again, cut away to Bonnie, with the text being, only one day remains before the infamous Egghead incident. However, the wheels of this tale were set into motion 3 months ago. This is massive. Egghead, the event on Egghead, or the Egghead incident, it's gonna be like the O'Hara incident. It's gonna be the Buster Call, probably. Unless there's gonna be some big revelation in the military or Marines when it happens, whatever. But we are watching history being made here. And 3 months ago, prior on the Holy Land of Marijois, Egghead was radioing in to talk to somebody with power. And it was just someone saying Dr. Vegapunk is researching the Void Century. And CP5 agents were dispatched to verify this tip, but their inspection revealed nothing. And their ship mysteriously disappeared as it attempted to leave Egghead. CP7 and 8 were both deployed to shed light on this situation. However, no government ship returned from Egghead. Another radio transmission. This is Egghead again. Put me through to the top brass, meaning the elders. The conversations between the 5 elders and this individual totally exposed the full extent of the genius scientist's treachery. And so the elders decided to order Dr. Vegapunk's assassination. It fell to Cypherpole Aegis 0 to execute the mission. However, the 5 elders anticipated that Vegapunk would resist, so they sent one of their own, escorted by Admiral Kizaru. They also reinforced the fleet they deployed with several backups from several Navy branches. Their caution level was raised to total war imminent. Then, a sudden and unexpected appearance of Emperor Straw Hat Luffy's ship let the government forces feeling more than a little disquieted by this complication. Akainu finds out about Straw Hat. Luffy laughs. One of the elders, him again, referring to Luffy. In any case, this chain of events is going to culminate tomorrow. The outcome will shock the world. And in the Marine list we got, Doll was there. The person that has seemingly been with Garp for this. So it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe she's a sword agent. Maybe she is just a military member who feels empathy for Garp and she's willing to make some exceptions but not actually a full member of Sword. And we cut to the basement again. And this was all you're doing, Shaka says. Basically, like, dying coughing. And it was actually Vegapunk, let's be real. And he tells the traitor to answer him. And we hear Creak. Why are you doing this? Vegapunk asks. A door slides open. And it's Stella. And she says, it's 'cause I want to be a celestial dragon. And Vegapunk says, what are you saying, York? You know what Marijois is like from that visit a long time ago. Why would you want to be one of them after witnessing just how vile they are? And Stella says, you sound just like Shaka. Well, not much now, 'cause he's dead. It's hard to keep track of all of us Vegapunks, right? Honestly, the world doesn't really need more than one of us. So Stella views herself as the Vegapunk. Which is really interesting because, like, out of all the Vegapunks, I wasn't expecting it. Don't get me wrong, I think it fits with her theme of being the one who eats and sleeps for Vegapunk. She's the one that you will disappear for a day on end and you just won't question it. So it gives her the perfect opportunity. And if her motive is to become a world noble or a celestial dragon, that checks. We'll need to get more information because, like Vegapunk says, she should know better if they visited Marijois by any extent. And he says that happened a long time ago. So it's going to be interesting to see how this Stella angle unfolds. But I liked also the angle that her whole thing is gluttony and greed. And of course, greed, gluttony to become a member of the World Noble. It might be a little bit of a stretch. But I think if you look at the Vegapunk bodies, each of them probably can be linked to a sin or a facet of humanity that is usually deemed as bad, i.e. gluttony, greed. For what was her name? Lilith. You could say that it was just wrath. So it'll be interesting. Cover story for 1079, which I believe is the last chapter we have to cover in this. And it is titled, I haven't gone over the titles yet for any of these, but this one is actually worth it. The Red-Haired Pirates in Emperor's Crew. This is a card name that I am making for my Dr. Stone TCG. It's one of the Story A cards. Holy shit, I feel validated. And the cover is Luffy watering flowers because CP0 is done, or German 66 cover story is now finished. And it was a cover request by Sunflower Shop from Tokyo. Luffy watering a lion, mistaking it for a sunflower. And we cut to kind of understand what's happening. And a few hours earlier, we were told, or Stella told the Seraphims, this is a bit of a pickle. The world government isn't just after the Stella, they're apparently looking to eliminate me too. Luckily, I have a contingency plan just in case they decided to play it this way. For starters, I want you to wipe out all the pests around here. You can kill everybody now that's up in the Frontier Dome. You can kill everyone now the Frontier Dome is up again. Spare no one except for the Stella, the hostages underground, and me. And all four Seraphim understood. Yokai. Saluting. Not actually saluting, but yeah. And she says, when you guys go rogue, I'm sure it will trigger a whodunit style investigation. If my cover gets blown, I won't stand a chance in a fight, so to ensure they don't catch me, S-Snake, I want you to get me in front of everyone. Hence why she was able to be petrified. And S-Snake says, understood. And Stella says, be sure to free me when no one's looking. And one more thing. There's an area of the lab that I don't want you to damage. And we don't know what it is. S-Hawk is seemingly running and flying away. And Stella says, let the hunt begin. And we get a cool wide shot of the building, and it is falling apart. All of the towers now have a pretty major chunk missing out of them. And it's just cool to see how this place has gone into such disarray already. And we've only been here for, 20 chapters, maybe? Hurry, everyone onto the ships. We're getting the heck out of here. We're evacuating. And then, as we are evacuating, we see the Blackbeard pirate ships. Or the Blackbeard pirates ship. Now, this is going to be interesting. So, last time we saw Blackbeard, him and Law were fighting. And I made the very Law fan decision that I think Law is going to win. 90% chance he wins. Blackbeard might win due to some fucking, plot armor. We need him for later on. But for all intents and purposes, I think Law should have won. Sorry, that's not English anymore. So seeing the ship rolling up to Egghead is making me feel simultaneously a strange sense of hope and a strange sense of terror. If it's hope, Law could be going down one of the other paths in hope of getting to one of the Alliance members from Wano, i.e. Luffy. If it's bad, Blackbeard probably knows that Luffy's on Egghead already. He's going there to kill Luffy. Or to maybe get his hands on Vegapunk. I don't know. Either way, I have a very mixed feeling about this, and I don't like it. I've never been more afraid to see the Blackbeard Pirates flag flying. But also, if Blackbeard wins that fight, he will have 2 Paramecias and a Logia, which I think kind of ruins the 1-1-1 that we all thought he was going to get. 1 Logia, 1 Zoan, 1 Paramecia. But he could use Law's fruit with his own to create, like, void rooms, I guess would be the best thing to call it. I don't know. But we cut to Elbaf again. Warland Elbaf, specifically. And somebody, being the capital of the Puddle Pirates, says, "Why are the kid pirates splashing around here? Have you come for our beloved chief? I won't rivet myself again. You're not going to see him, so just hop off. Trust the captain to get his tongue tied," says one of his crewmates. And another one, being the head of the social club pirates, Grave Tooth Fugger, says he speaks the truth, Fuga Mogo. And somebody tells him about his dentures because they popped out. And Princess of the Boogayaw Pirate, Panicky Peruru. You icky pleb, I hate your guts. You icky pleb, I hate your guts. And somebody says, "You're so bold." And Kid responds, "What the hell? Are these jokers really with red hair? This is supposed to be the new world, isn't it?" And Killer replies, "They've got some big names with them. Don't lower your guard." And Kid, I think, not disregarding, but re-upping his guard, says, "Don't worry, I never pull my punches." And Shanks tells them to retreat. Or he tells them to retreat, I should say. He orders somebody to tell them to retreat. And they're asking, "What are you saying, Chief? We won't let them lay a finger on you." And he says, "I appreciate the sentiment, but I want all ships to fall back." And somebody asks, "You're heading off already, Chief? We only just met up." And he says, "I was just stopping by, but I lost track of time. And this big shot showed up, so now I've got to deal with him. Get those ships to move and open a path. The real reason you have to deal with him is because the fleet's notoriously weak," says one of the other pirates. And somebody else says, "You're not supposed to say that out loud. A bunch of us wouldn't have lived this long if it weren't thanks to your flag's protection. The only enemy you need to worry about is Father Time, Granny Ori. Ho, ho, ho. Well, aren't we cheeky?" So seemingly all the captains under Shanks are fairly low levels, not really dangerous, probably not that high of bounties, but he might have just brought them in to make sure that they could survive. He doesn't want to see pirates die like that. And I forget his name. It's something with B. The big boy. Baroque? I think it's Barouge or something. Says, "Don't sweat it, Chief. We can handle this." And Shanks just straight up replies, "You shouldn't underestimate the growth of these youngsters. His head's worth 3 billion after all." And Yasop says, "Still, has he had enough time to heal since he was in Wano? He looks lively enough and he seems up for a fight." And Shanks just says, "Guess it's fine then." Any news on Blackbeard? And Beckman tells him, "Nope. Last we heard, he left Pirate Island. I was sure he was going to show his face in Wano, but they have some information on Kid." And seemingly it's like a full dirt workup. And it has the fact that he's from South Blue. He sure does a lot of rampaging to make it this far. And Kid asks how many ships are there. And Killer says 9, and there's plenty of faces I recognize from the bounty posters on them. And Kid just straight up says, "I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn who we're up against. I'll blast them down to the ocean floor in 10 seconds flat. Eat this, damned punk." The exact same attack that he launched against the Big Mom during their fight. And Shanks sees the blast destroying the fleet with his hockey. And Beckman tells him, "Sounds like you've seen a hell of a future." And Shanks just straight up says, "As expected." And something happens, and it's some sort of massive cannon. And I think it's them seeing Kid's arm. And their ships are slowly getting pulled into the magnet. And Shanks, reacts. Like, I'm talking anime reaction, close up on the eye. And then one of the pirates says, "This is bad. What's going on, Chief? Get all the ships to move aside now. Dory, Broggy, get in position. It's about time," says Dory and Broggy. And Kid sees Shanks at probably far too late. And Shanks uses Divine Departure. And it fucking explodes Kid's cannon. And everything goes flying. And Shanks just kind of nonchalant. Killer was in it. Killer got caught up in the explosion. And Kid just isn't moving. His arm, his entire mechanical arm is gone up to the stump. And a few of the Kid's pirates say, "We surrender. Please have mercy. Don't kill our captain. Here, take the poneglyph rubbings. We just take them." And then we see Shanks disappears, and Dory and Broggy are doing their thing, and they hit each other, or they hit the weapons together using the Hakuko Sovereignty. And this is the scary part, right? This attack packs a wallop, and it hit Kid's ship dead down the middle. And then we get some text. On this day in the New World by Elbath, the Kid pirate crew led by Eustace Captain Kidd, a man worth 3 billion, was completely eradicated. And not to undersell the fact that Kid's probably fucking dead, right? Like, don't get me wrong. I think there might be a possibility that he survives. That Kid is just that. He's just that man. He's just him. But based on the fact that we see people floating underwater, like on the second and third to last panels, I'm not feeling too strong about Kid surviving that. All you Kid Copium fans, sorry. No chance. I doubt it. But yeah. So we get to see Shanks fight. And holy shit, his fleet should not be fucked with. That's all I can say. This chapter left me speechless. These last 3 or 4 I had not read at all. So it's nice to finally be caught up. I'm going to go do the Chainsaw review real quick. But let's be real. We all know I probably won't do it right now. I'll probably wait until the next chapter come out on Tuesday. But today to market is Saturday, April 1st. When I'm recording the audio, it's 8:22 p.m. now. So maybe I'll get the video edited and out by tonight. It's not going to be too heavy on editing, but the processing through Premiere is what takes the longest. So just for this audio not to be any longer, I'm going to wrap things up here. I hope you enjoyed my review of these chapters. It's getting really exciting on Egghead. We are getting some amazing stuff with Shanks, Kid possibly being dead, Blackbeard or Law showing up to Egghead is massive. An event higher than O'Hara is about to happen, and we are about to bear witness to it. So hold on to your butts, One Piece fans. Shit's about to get rocky. And until next time, stay safe, have fun, and read more manga. Okay, guys. Bye.